what are the arguments that he has made when you talk about regional imbalance?
Delimitation happens, they will be at a disadvantage because the number of seats will decrease in the south and disproportionately increase in the north. When the RSS makes the same point that the opposition is making, it puts government under further pressure.
Hello and welcome to the Indian Express. I'm Charulata Biswas and with me is Deeptiman Tiwary, Senior Editor from the Indian Express. And today we will talk about the editorial in RSS-Linked Organiser. The editorial that talks about the need for a national population policy and population imbalance, regional imbalance, and also reflects at the rising Muslim population in India. So Deeptiman, coming to you first, why are we talking about this editorial? Why is it so significant? If you can talk about this organizer briefly.
Okay, so Organizer is a weekly which is brought out by the RSS, and it is variously called the mouthpiece of the organization, or a magazine which is linked to the organization. The RSS says that no, it is not our mouthpiece, but it is entirely run by the RSS. People who run the magazine are RSS people, editors are from the organization. So yes, it does reflect the views of the organization, and in fact its a majority of its readership is actually RSS karyakartas, which is the workers and leaders and those associated with the RSS or the BJP, or those who are trying to understand RSS. They read, journalists read to understand what the RSS is trying to say. So at a time when BJP has returned to power with lesser number of seats, and the RSS is being seen as sort of flexing its muscles, trying to find some more elbow room than it had in the last 10 years, where it felt sort of stymied by the sheer power of the BJP, electoral power of the BJP. So there the RSS is trying to slightly assert itself, and so it is very significant that after the Narendra Modi government has come to power, and there have been murmurs about Uniform Civil Code and certain other ideological projects of the Sangh, the RSS comes out with a cover story, its magazine comes out with a cover story on population policy. And so it is sort of a policy signal to the government that look, this is what we are looking at, this is an important issue for us, and we hope that you will look at it. And why it is also important is that in the interim budget, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman had actually announced that the government would set up a committee to look into population policy, but this committee never got formed. And now we have a budget session which is likely to start from 22nd July. So just days ahead of the next budget session, Sangh is appears to be pushing a key policy issue. So it is very significant, yes.
Right. The arguments that have been made in the editorial, which was written by Praful Ketkar, who's the editor of Organizer.
Absolutely, yes.
So what are the arguments that he has made when you talk about regional imbalance?
So see, it's very significant because population policy is something that RSS has been talking about for a long time. Mohan Bhagwat a year ago and a couple of years ago as well, in his speeches has broached the subject about population control, and largely RSS has traditionally focused on demographic imbalance. When they talk about demographic imbalance, they talk about two things, that there is an imbalance in border states. So they talk about Assam and West Bengal, where they say that Muslims used to be somewhere around 20% or 17%, and from there they have, like when India got independence and post-partition, and from there it has gone to more than 30%, or in Assam almost 37-40%. So they say that this is a huge issue, not only in a democratic sense, representation of people and how policies get influenced, but also they claim that it is a security threat rising Muslim population. Similarly, they talk about, across the country that, there is a higher growth rate among Muslims. So the demography of the country is changing. In fact, it is one of the biggest arguments of the RSS, one of the fundamental arguments of the RSS on which it bases its argument of uniting the Hindu society, because there is a threat from, growing Muslim population and the Islamization of the country and the rising radicalization, and so the Hindu society must unite to protect its culture, to protect its glorious history. So they keep talking about it. But this time when Mr. Kedkar writes this edit, he brings out a very, very important point along with, while
so
talking about all these things. Absolutely.
Okay.
So he talks about all these things, but at the same time he also talks about regional imbalance and specifically speaks about the Western India and Southern India, where he says that they have been able to have better population control, and but if there is a delimitation tomorrow, given the greater rise in population in North India and Eastern India, they will be at a disadvantage, because democracy is all about representation of the people. So they will be at a disadvantage. Now this
But
argument,
how?
So now why this is significant is because this is an argument that the opposition has been making for years. Parties like the left who are ruling Kerala, or the DMK, which is in Tamil Nadu, even the Congress, many other parties who have presence in the southern India, they have been saying that, in fact, they have been accused of stalling delimitation. Delimitation hasn't happened since the 1950s. There have been so many censuses, although constitutionally, after every census there has to be delimitation, but that hasn't happened in this country. And because they fear that, because the north has, there has been a population explosion in the north, they have been able to control population growth in their parts. So when delimitation happens, they will be at a disadvantage, because the number of seats will decrease in the south and disproportionately increase in the north. So when the RSS makes the same point that the opposition is making, it puts government under further pressure on how it is going to go about delimitation. Because mind you, delimitation, if it happens, it is going to benefit the BJP. Because BJP largely wins majority of its seats in the north.
So if you read between the lines, they are making this point to the BJP, right? And to change.
One could say that. The RSS would say that no, we are concerned about the country and we are always talking about the right things and how democracy must prosper, and we are fundamentally democratic. And so this is a democratic point that we are making. Fair enough. But whether what is the intention that the RSS has is immaterial.
But how do you see this development? Because Mohan Bhagwat also gave a couple of weeks back gave a stern message where he talked about Manipur, right? About peace in Manipur, and now this editorial where they are sort of echoing opposition's thoughts. How do you see this development?
Yes. See, if historically we look at the relation between the RSS and the BJP, RSS has always felt that, okay, you are a political front of the larger organization. Okay, so you have to work according to the larger ideological project that we have for reshaping this nation. So RSS has always believed that the Sangh Parivar has a much bigger objective and is much bigger in every sense than the BJP. Probably the RSS is trying to assert itself at a time when BJP is slightly electorally on the back foot.
So, Deeptiman, when they talk about how they are at a disadvantage if the delimitation process happens, how are they talking about when they talk about population imbalance? What is the data that they are referring to? Is there any scientific data that is the argument that they are sort of making here?
So, if we look at how delimitation has happened in this country on the basis of population, then we will see that in the 1950s, on an average, there were 8 lakh people in per parliamentary seat. This increased to around 10 lakh people in the 1970s, and since then, there has been no delimitation exercise, sort of. So, if we take that 10 lakh data per seat, then according to the current projection of the population, we are looking at some 1400 seats in parliament, and we are looking at UP alone accounting for 250 seats, Bihar accounting for some 170 seats, Rajasthan growing from 25 to some 80 seats, and Tamil Nadu growing from 39 to only 76. Kerala growing from 20 to only 36. So there is a clear disadvantage. Even if we double this, which is more interesting because the new parliament has only 888 seats, so we are not looking at that 10 lakh. Probably as and when the delimitation happens, it will be somewhere between 15 lakh and 20 lakh per seat population. If we take the 20 lakh formula ratio per seat, then we are looking at UP alone having some 120 odd seats. Okay, Bihar having 80, Bihar and Jharkhand together will have more than 80 seats. Rajasthan will also more than double its seats. Tamil Nadu will remain at 39, and Kerala will lose 2 seats.
Okay.
From 20, it will come down to 18. So there is a clear disadvantage as far as representation is concerned for southern India. Although North India can always argue that we have been underrepresented for 50 years.
Right.
Okay, so it is only high time that, but then many southern India politicians argue that democracy is punishing us for good governance. So somewhere some middle ground has to be found, because in a democracy, if increasing population becomes a dividend for then it's a very difficult choice for a government to make.
Yes. All right, so there you go. Deeptiman dissected the current editorial by the organizer and what they exactly want to say. So dissecting all of that. So thank you so much, Deeptiman, for joining us. And thank you, viewers, for watching our video. If you like this video, then like and subscribe to our channel, The Indian Express. Thank you so much.